الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه مباركا عليه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى وصلى الله تعالى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. There are still Muslims who do not have Hajj on their agenda because they are not ready to ditch their bad habits. How often haven't you either said it yourself or heard others saying it? I am not doing Hajj now because I'm not ready to give up drinking entirely. Or I'm not ready to pray 5 times a day. Or I'm not ready to wear hijab. Or I'm not going to quit my job at the bank or at the insurance company, and so on and so forth. These kinds of remarks in the first place is really a presumption on the part of people who call themselves Muslims while repudiating religious obligations. But this type of attitude is nothing strange, as Allah's rights have always been challenged. It all started in the form of a pompous statement, Ana khayrun minhu. Iblis, also known as Shaitan, was no doubt the most obedient of all the jinns. Allah honored and favored him over many of his creations. When Allah created Adam alayhi salam, He ordered the angels to prostrate to the Prophet as a sign of glorification for the new creation because of his essential nature, the great role that awaited him and his offspring as Allah's vicegerents on earth. Shaitan was included in the order as he was part of the angelic group. However, while all the angels bowed down to Adam in the pride of his heart, Shaitan refused. Allah asked him, though he is well aware of all things, Ya Iblisu ma mana'aka an tasjuda lima khalaqtu biyadai astakbarta am kunta minal alin? O Iblis, what prevents you from prostrating yourself to one whom I have created with my hands? Are you too proud, or are you one of the high exalted? Full of ego and self-importance, Iblis replied, Ana khayrum minhu khalaqtani min narin wa khalaqtahu min tin. I am better than he. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. From the very moment Iblis unleashed the greatest felony against Allah by accusing him of injustice and boasting in glory of the matter he was made of, he was instantly casted out from grace. Allah ordered the devil, فَاهْبِطْ مِنْهَا فَمَا يَكُونُ لَكَ أَن تَتَكَبَّرَ فِيهَا فَاخْرُجْ إِنَّكَ مِنَ الصَّاغِرِينَ. Then get down from paradise. It is not for you to be arrogant here. Get out, for you are truly one of the disgraced. Not taking the matter easy, Iblis vowed to drive a wedge between man and his creator. قَالَ رَبِّ بِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Satan said, My Lord, for allowing me to stray, I will surely tempt them on earth and mislead them altogether. إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. Except your sincere servants among them. ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. I will approach them from their front, their back, their right, their left, and you will find most of them ungrateful. Allah responded to him, لَأَمْلَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنْكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I will certainly fill up hell with you and your followers altogether. إِنَّ عِبَادِي لَيْسَ لَكَ عَلَيْهِمْ سُلْطَانٌ إِلَّا مَنِ اتَّبَعَكَ مِنَ الْغَاوِينَ. You will certainly have no authority over my servants except the deviant ones who follow you. Hence, every day the devil gathers up creatures of his own and of faithless people to divert mankind and the jinn kind from the servitude of their creator. His sole aim is to draw worship away from Allah and direct it to himself. From his vicious plan is to lead the believers into strange pastures where he is hiding and awaiting to ambush them, to pierce their hearts with sharp blades greased with disbelief, apostasy, hypocrisy, arrogance, and ingratitude. Satan even has backup plans. Just in case he can't put doubts in our hearts and get us to involve in vices that will invalidate our faith in Allah, he will try to convince us that some obligations of Islam are meant only for certain people, not for us. Not only does the Quran give clear information on Satan's tricks to dupe man into his plans, but in the strictest possible language, Allah warns us not to fall into the satanic traps and become devoured by his evil deeds. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. لا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان ومن يتبع خطوات الشيطان فإنه يأمر بالفحشاء والمنكر. O you who believe, do not follow the footsteps of Shaitan, and whoever follows the footsteps of the devil, then verily he commands indecency and wicked deeds. The discussion of shaitan and rebelliousness in the Quran makes it clear that when people refuse to obey Allah, that disobedience is from their own wicked nature. That nature is attributable to the devil, to whom they bow to and obviously worship as their hero. What they fail to recognize is that Allah has rights. The core of all true worship is the recognition of His rights. All things belong to Allah, and there is no one or anything worthy of worship except the one who created all things. Every created thing owes its origin to Allah as the creator, and every living being should be giving Allah undivided and unreserved worship. That is our duty as created beings. We ought to understand that Allah is the sole creator and controller. He has the right to lay down legislations and laws for our guidance. It is upon us to express our gratitude to Him by submitting ourselves to all acts of worship and obedience which He has ordained for great wisdom and sublime objectives. Through these divine principles, we purify our soul, correct our attitude, and refine our character. Those who are refusing Allah the right of His worship because they have given into temptation and are now under Satan's dominance, they should realize that a heart filled with the same hatred that Satan has for Allah's order could never grasp the goodness and the peace that leads to everlasting happiness. From the lesson, we also learn that Allah would not allow man to disobey and rebel without due consequences. This is the very reason why the Quran keeps reminding us of Satan's disobedience and what happens next. Any shortcut to faith is the path to man's enemy. Shaitan is lying there in wait for him to lead him astray by making him inclined to evil, causing wicked things to become attractive to him and luring him to rebel against the laws of his Lord. Man who is weak by nature needs protection and religious directives against the plots of his enemy. He needs the correct path to follow by which he can be able to reach out to Allah and attains the pleasure of this world and the real life. Islam provides that divine way and guides man to a system which by nature is easy to follow and to achieve all forms of success. This comes about by offering complete submission to Allah the Most Exalted. This means that personal inclination or desire is not a reason to flout our religious responsibilities. Such wrongdoing is tantamount to ungratefulness to Allah. It is a manifestation of Satan's disobedience to Allah's order and the stance he takes, a stance that is propelled by selfish reactions without giving a considered thought to the repercussions of his action. The Quran commands, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, and your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him. In line with this injunction, Allah specifically mentioned after commanding the fulfillment of Hajj, وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ. And whoever disbelieves, then surely Allah is self-sufficient above any need of the world. It becomes even more vitally important to understand why the two Caliphs, Umar and Ali radiallahu anhuma, declared kufr on any Muslim who purposely fails to observe Hajj. As clearly evident, vain excuses, transgressions, and rebelliousness are what Shaitan hides behind. Thus, whoever takes the route of the accursed devil instead of the path to righteousness has surely suffered a manifest loss, for there is nothing Satan promises except delusion. The same Iblis who boasts that he will create false desires in the hearts of men to mislead them will tell them on the day of judgment that he did not have any authority over them and that he simply calls them and they unconditionally responded to his call. He would deny any responsibility on their obeying him on that day. The Quran confirms, وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعَدَكُمْ وَعْدَ الْحَقِّ وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ وَمَا كَانَ لِيَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا أَنْ دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ مَا أَنَا بِمُصْرِخِكُمْ وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُصْرِخِي. And Shaitan will say when the matter has been decided, verily Allah promised you a promise of truth. And I too promised you, but I betrayed you. I had no authority over you except that I called you and you responded to me. So blame me not, but blame yourselves. I cannot help you, nor can you help me. وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ.